It's needless to say that Minecraft wouldn't be where it is today without its community. For over a decade, players have constantly pushed the game forward through mods, concepts, data packs, and ideas, keeping it fresh long after most games would have simply faded away. Mojang plays their part too, delivering regular updates to keep the game evolving. But this is also where the community begins to split. Some players are perfectly satisfied with the direction Minecraft is heading, while others feel that many updates fall short, often because they lack truly meaningful features. And they might be onto something. Minecraft is no longer the small indie project it once was, with near complete creative freedom. Today, every new feature has to pass through a long and careful process, following strict guidelines and red lines that can't be crossed. Jeb even mentioned recently that if the creeper were proposed today, it likely wouldn't make it into the game at all, which perfectly shows how cautious Minecraft's development has become. That tension between what Minecraft is and what it could be is exactly what this video is about. The Minecraft community has never been short on ideas, and while most of them never make it past forums or Reddit threads, every now and then, Mojang actually listens. Recently, that happened with the zombie camel. In the past, they've even rewarded community suggestions, like giving a special cape to the person who originally proposed turtles. But the truth is, most community ideas go untouched. So in this video, I took some of the most interesting community suggestions and added them to the game, to see whether these ideas actually belong in Minecraft, or if they are better left as concepts. Starting off with a rather small but interesting suggestion for the spear. The spear has only been in the game for a short while, but the community has already come up with a ton of ideas for it. While many suggestions are fairly mundane, like changing its crafting recipe, one user suggested something way cooler. If a spear is placed inside the dispenser and the dispenser is activated, the spear would stab out from the face of the dispenser, damaging anything in front of it, before retreating back inside. And honestly, this idea is kind of genius. Not only does it give spears a brand new, arguably much cooler use than they currently have, but it also opens up a lot of new possibilities for players. Like with other similar mechanics, Mojang would need to introduce this feature through a structure or some kind of in-game example. I think the jungle temple would be the perfect place for that. It already has an arrow trap, and adding a spear-based spike trap would fit perfectly as part of a small jungle temple revamp. Beyond traps, this mechanic would be incredible for farms, killing any mobs that land on it. You could even pair it up with a redstone clock for a continuous attack pattern. And overall, I genuinely think this is one of the best community suggestions we've seen in recent time. The next one is a bit of an odd suggestion, but it's still worth talking about, this time involving the snow golem. Right now, crafting a snow golem is pretty straightforward. You place 2 snow blocks and a pumpkin. What you might not know though is that it also works with a jack-o'-lantern, even though it gives you the exact same result as using a regular carved pumpkin. This user suggests that building a snow golem with a jack-o'-lantern should instead summon a variant that shoots flaming snowballs. And while it sounds cool on paper, I don't think it would make much sense or really change much. You can already sort of do this by letting a regular snow golem snowballs pass through fire, which would just make the original snow golem feel pointless. If something like this were ever added, I think it would need a stronger identity. For example, instead of leaving a trail of snow, it could leave behind a thin trail of water, as if the fire inside the jack-o'-lantern is slowly melting the snow golem. That could turn it into a temporary water source rather than a permanent snow one. To avoid covering the world in annoying water layers, the water could simply disappear after a short time. This idea also reminds me of the melon golem from Minecraft Earth, where using a carved melon instead of a pumpkin created a melon golem that shot melon seeds instead of snowballs. And if you sheared it, you'd end up with this abomination. But the next suggestion is a lot more straightforward, this time focusing on armor stands. This commenter suggests proper Bedrock and Java armor stand parity. On Bedrock, armor stands have arms, can hold items, and can even be put into different poses. Meanwhile, Java armor stands are far more limited for no real reason. So first things first, give Java armor stands arms. But that's not where it ends. The idea also suggests being able to shift right-click an armor stand to instantly swap gear, trading the armor stand's equipment with whatever you're currently wearing. It would be a quick and convenient way to switch gears without any inconvenience. And while armor stands are great for displaying player armor, there's still no real way to showcase other types of armor in the game. To fix that, this user suggests adding horse armor stands that you can craft like this, and use to display them. On top of that, there's also a smaller, one-block armor stand design meant for displaying a single item, like helmets and such, as well as things like Nautilus armor and even wolf armor. Overall, I don't think this is a high priority feature by any means, but it's the kind of quality of life addition that would still be really nice to have in the game. This next suggestion focuses on the furnace. Right now, the furnace smelts everything at the same speed. Later on, we got the blast furnace and the smoker, which only smelt ores or food respectively, but do so much faster. This user first suggests adding a kiln to the game, a block that only smelts other blocks, but does it faster, completing the fast smelter triangle. But what if instead of only adding another specialized block, we combine the idea into a single upgrade, a faster furnace that simply smelts everything quicker through combining all three of them. To keep it balanced, it could require something like red nether bricks, meaning you wouldn't be able to craft it until you've been to a nether fortress. I think that would be a neat addition and not unbalanced at all. Having to reach or even clear a nether fortress feels like a fair requirement for something as useful as a faster smelter. What do you guys think? Oh, and by the way, the kiln idea comes from the claywork mod, which I've linked in the description if you want to try it out yourself. Let's continue with the next suggestion, this time focusing on the pot. The pot is a storage block you can customize with pottery shards, added alongside the archaeology update as a way to showcase your archaeological finds. While it sounds cool in theory, in practice it lacks any depth when it comes to customization. Beyond mixing and matching a few patterns, there is not much you can actually do with it. To fix this, the user suggests expanding pot customization in a few ways. First, we should be able to craft pots out of different materials, like terracotta or even glazed terracotta, giving us more visual variety when displaying patterns. And if changing the color still isn't enough, the idea goes even further by adding the pottery wheel. This would act as a more intuitive way to craft pots, letting you choose the design and color you want more directly. On top of that, you'd be able to shape your pots with multiple sizes to choose from, giving players even more freedom to customize them however they like. While an addition like a brand new pottery table would be really interesting, I think Minecraft should probably focus on giving functionality to existing blocks first. Tables like the fletching table still don't have a real use, and it might make more sense to address those before adding something like the pottery wheel. And since we're already on the topic of customization, let's talk about the iron golem next. At first glance, customizing Iron Golem sounds a bit strange. I mean, what is there even to customize? But this user actually came up with a pretty clever idea. Instead of Iron Golem spawning with vines by default, they would start out clean and slowly grow vines over time, similar to how copper golems oxidize. Meanwhile, Iron Golems that naturally spawn in villages would appear fully overgrown, indicating their veteran status. And honestly, from a logical standpoint, it makes a lot of sense, even though the Iron Golem does look a little weird without its vines. But that's not even the main customization idea. The same user also suggests letting us personalize iron golems using armor trims. You'd first click the iron golem with a trim, then right click it again with a trim color of your choice to apply the pattern. If you don't like how it turned out, you can simply shear it off. You wouldn't lose the trim, giving you more of a reason to actually use it. But the iron golem isn't the only mob that could use some touching up. Next on the list is the sheep. In the Spring to Life update, several mobs received new variants. The cow, chicken, and pig all got cold and warm biome versions. Naturally, people expected the same treatment for sheep. Instead, sheep received a pretty mundane change. Cold and warm biomes now simply have black and brown sheep as their most common variants. And honestly, that feels a bit lazy. Sheep deserve proper biome-dependent variants just as much as the other mobs. So here's the idea. First, extend the sheep's snout slightly, similar to what was done with the cow. From there, the worm variant would have a more tan color, visible horns, and be a bit less woolly overall. Meanwhile, the cold variant would feature a much fluffier coat and a paler color to better fit cold biomes. And personally, I think this user absolutely nailed it. These are by far my favorite interpretations of warm and cold sheep variants, and they genuinely feel like they belong in Minecraft. One mob that hunts sheep is the wolf, and you guessed it correctly, the next suggestion is for the wolf. This user proposes adding a new wolf variant, the Skeleton Wolf. Originally featured in Minecraft Earth, the Skeleton Wolf would be a hostile mob spawning mainly in Soul Sand valleys with a small chance to appear in the overworld alongside a horde of skeletons. It would deal around 2 hearts of damage, have more health than regular wolf, and drop 1 or 2 bones upon death, with a small chance to drop its head. Skeleton wolves wouldn't be tameable in the traditional sense. Instead, the only way to get one as a companion would be through its head, which could also occasionally be found in archaeological ruins. Once obtained, the head could either be placed as a block or combined with a Totem of Undying to begin the resurrection process. By placing it on top of a bone block, the skeleton wolf would be summoned. Functionally, these wolves would behave similarly to regular ones, but with some key differences. They wouldn't be able to eat food, but could instead be healed using bones or instant damage potions. They'd have significantly more health, but to keep things balanced, they wouldn't be able to wear armor. They'd also deal extra damage to undead mobs. Their biggest advantage, however, is that upon death, Minecraft, they would always drop their head, allowing you to resurrect them again. In other words, you'd have an effectively immortal pet, one that can die but never truly stay dead. That is, unless it dies in lava, in which case the head would be destroyed. Overall, this is definitely a creative and interesting suggestion, but honestly, I think it's better left as just a concept. What do you guys think? Would you guys want an immortal wolf or not? Let's continue with the next suggestion, which adds a brand new ranged weapon, the Slingshot. With the ever-expanding list of weapons to Minecraft, I think it's about time the ranged category got some attention as well. That's exactly what the suggestion aims to do, introducing the Slingshot as an early game ranged weapon that can still remain useful well into the late game, which is something I always love to see. It's also a very thorough and well thought out idea, so let's start with the crafting recipe. The Slingshot is crafted using just a stick, string, and leather. The materials themselves aren't the main highlight though. The real twist is that it can be crafted in your 2x2 crafting grid, making it one of the only weapons in the game you can craft on the go without needing a crafting table. Functionally, the Slingshot would be a short to mid-range weapon with a wide variety of possible projectiles, each with different properties and damage values. Copper nuggets could be used for longer range, iron for medium, and gold nuggets for shorter range combat. You could also use amethyst shards for extended range, or resin, which applies a unique stuck effect that briefly immobilizes enemies. The Slingshot would only take 0.6 seconds to charge, compared to 1 second for bows and 1.25 seconds for crossbows. If a player is affected by the stuck effect, they wouldn't be able to move, although the duration could be reduced by repeatedly pressing the jump key. On top of that, the Slingshot would have its own unique enchantments. Force would increase damage and range. Ricochet would allow projectiles to bounce off solid blocks and entities a number of times equal to the enchantment level, and Shatter would cause the projectile to break into shrapnel after impact. Shatter and Ricochet would be mutually exclusive for balance. Overall, the Slingshot fills a really useful early game niche when arrows are scarce, letting players rely on materials like copper nuggets instead, and later on it scales nicely for enchantments and upgraded ammunition, while also giving more purpose to renewable but underused items like amethysts and resin. Honestly, I think this is one of the strongest suggestions so far. It doesn't step on the toes of the bow or crossbow, it just does its own thing, and I genuinely love to see something like this added to the game. Speaking of giving amethyst more of a use, this next suggestion introduces a special variant of the skeleton. The skeleton already has no shortage of variants, and this idea adds yet another one, an amethyst, or more specifically a geode-themed skeleton. The concept suggests that this mob would drop a budding amethyst block and have the ability to highlight players for other mobs to target, and that's pretty much where the idea ends. The user doesn't really go much further than that when it comes to defining its mechanics. Honestly, the only real redeeming quality here is the design. It looks absolutely sick, but beyond that, I don't really see a strong reason for this to exist in the game. As cool as it looks, I think this one is better off staying as just a concept. The following suggestion is one I personally think would be a major quality of life improvement when it comes to player mobility. Traversing through dense forests can often be a minor inconvenience, one that gets annoying pretty quickly, especially if you're traveling on a horse. To fix that, this user suggests letting players pass through leaf blocks while crouching, while still being able to walk on top of them when not crouching. Some people in the comments even suggested taking it a step further, with leaves slightly breaking your fall if you land on them. The same idea could also apply to horses, allowing them to move through leaves as well, just at a slightly reduced speed. Overall, I think this would be a very practical change and one that actually makes a lot of sense. But let's move on to what might genuinely be the best suggestion in the entire video, and it has to do with the Enderman. Right now, there are 6 mob heads in the game that players can obtain through various means. Mob heads can be worn to reduce the detection range of their respective mobs, and they can also be placed on top of a note block to play the mob's sound effects. Most of these, with the exception of the Wither Skeleton and Ender Dragon heads, can be obtained when the mob is killed by a charged creeper explosion. This user suggests expanding that list by adding the Enderman Head. Endermen would drop their head when killed by a charged creeper, and the head would also rarely generate as loot in end cities. When worn, the head would prevent Endermen from getting angry when you look at them. But the real highlight of this idea is its redstone functionality. When placed down and connected to redstone, the Enderman head would act as a vision detector. If a player looks directly at it, the head would open its mouth and shake slightly, sending a redstone signal to the block it's attached to for as long as it's being looked at. Even better, the strength of that signal would scale based on the distance between the player and the head. This would give us an incredibly vanilla-friendly way to add vision detection to Minecraft, opening the door to all kinds of creative redstone contraptions. Next up is a suggestion involving gold, or more specifically a new alloy. Pure gold is a very soft metal in real life, which is why it's usually mixed with other metals to make it more durable. Minecraft actually mirrors this pretty well. Gold tools are extremely fragile, but they're also very fast and have excellent enchanting properties. And because of that fragility, gold often gets overlooked despite everything else it has going for it. So why not let players mimic the real life practice of alloying gold to make it more durable? That's exactly what the suggestion does. By combining copper with gold, you'd create rose gold. From there, you could smelt it into rose gold ingots and use those to craft pink colored gear. These tools would retain some of gold's traits, such as its enchanting properties, while landing somewhere between iron and diamond in terms of overall strength. Rose gold would also finally give us pink armor trims in the game, meaning that even if you don't care about the gear itself, you could still get some use out of the material. But as much sense as this makes, I don't think adding a brand new alloy just to justify pink trims is a strong enough reason for it to exist. If rose gold came with additional uses like crafting jewelry, decorating pink blocks, or even unique redstone components, that would be a much better justification. As a standalone feature though, I don't really see this one making the cut. Speaking of alloys, the next suggestion focuses on copper gear. This person proposes buffing copper tools and armor, but with a twist. They would oxidize over time, and the more oxidized they become, the weaker they get. Personally, I don't think oxidization should affect performance at all. It works much better as a purely visual mechanic. At most, it could be tied to durability, with tools looking more oxidized as they wear down. If we're talking about actually buffing copper gear though, I think there's a much more interesting approach. Copper already has a unique interaction with lightning, acting as a conductor for lightning rods. That same property could be extended to copper armor. Wearing copper armor would significantly increase your chances of being struck by lightning, and when that happens, your armor and tools would gain a temporary charged effect. This could grant short boosts like speed or haste, giving players an early taste of enchantment-like effects. It would also be great to have a way to intentionally harness lightning and use it to your advantage. Maybe something like storing lightning in a bottle so you could charge yourself on the go. There's a lot of potential here to give copper a truly unique identity, similar to how gold stands out with its superior enchanting capabilities. And while the original idea needs some tweaking, I think it at least points copper in the right direction. Now let's finish things off with a few smaller but still pretty neat suggestions, starting with the Wither Skeleton. This user suggests a brand new item called the Withered Bone, which can be crafted into withered bone meal. Instead of growing plants, this works in the opposite way, essentially acting as a herbicide. If you've got a large area covered in grass or flowers, you could use this to quickly clear it out, which honestly feels like a really practical use for a wither related item. Next up, let's finish things off with a nether themed idea, ghost peppers. Ghost peppers would be a new crop found growing sparsely in salt sand valleys, adding another food source to the nether. Eating one would give the player the spicy effect for 20 seconds. While under this effect, all melee attacks would set mobs on fire, essentially acting like Fire Aspect 1, but as a temporary status effect instead of an enchantment. And I think it's a pretty neat idea. It's kept simple and also fits the nether well in my opinion. And those were some of the best community suggestions I could find. Let me know in the comments which one you liked the most, and which one you'd love to see added into the game. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, subscribing, or sharing it with a friend. It really helps the channel out. And if you haven't already, check out my previous videos where I rework a bunch of other Minecraft features and give them a brand new purpose. I've also started a new Minecraft server where I'll be playing with subscribers, so if you want to join in, you can find the details on my Discord server. Hope to see you in the next video. Bye!